Hey guys, what's going on? Zash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. I am joined by old friend JuicyJ back on the channel. Juicy, what's up, man? It's been like 5 years since I had you on the channel. Not really, but it feels like that.
Everything's good. Everything's good.
Great. I brought you on to talk about Graveyard, man. You took I don't know, like a small break from the game, but you are back now. You're streaming every single day. I'll link all your information. My viewers should definitely check you out. You're really, really good at breaking down gameplay. There's really not many people better to watch out there in the world, or better than you. I don't think there's anybody in terms of just really getting into the crux of what's going wrong here, how to become a better player. You're really, really, what I love about you as a streamer and a content creator is you're really willing to point out your own mistakes as well, and willing to talk about things that you could or should do differently. So that's what I wanted to have you all here on the channel right now, selfishly to help me, Juicy. You saw my video and you reached out and you're like, yeah, I saw you doing Graveyard, and you're an old school Graveyard pro. Like, you've been playing Graveyard for years and years and years. So I thought it'd be awesome to get you on the channel here and talk about some mistakes and some losses that I've had so far. Talk about, you know, some live coaching maybe as well. Do you coach right now, by the way?
Yeah, I have around 5 people that I'm doing like regular lessons with right now. It's a lot of fun.
That's really, really cool. I would love to make your do you have room for more, or should I be plugging this for my viewers, or no?
Yeah, I definitely have room for more.
Okay.
Coaching is one of my favorite parts of this game, so I'm down to always do more.
All right, fantastic, man. So we'll have your information where you can, is it just Twitter, like DMs? Is that the best way, or is there a sign-up process, or?
Yeah, you can DM me on Twitter, Discord. I also have a website with a lot of information on it as well.
I'll have all that information for you guys if you want to go ahead and hire Juicy as a coach for yourselves. But first, let's talk about Graveyard in general, man. So I'm trying to master Splash Yard, even though in this replay I have Giant. I had this deck on the channel recently, and boy, man, it was so much easier than Splash Yard, and I was able to push up another 100 or 200 trophies from where I was when I switched to this deck. However, I still want to get good with the old school Splash Yard. Talk to me about the state of Graveyard right now. You know, what are the best decks in your opinion, and what do you think I should do as someone who's just really dedicated at getting better with Graveyard?
So right now there's about 3 Graveyard decks. You got Giant Graveyard, you got the standard Knight kind of Splash Yard, and then you got kind of the older school Bowler Freeze Splash Yard. I would say that, in my personal opinion, I think Giant Graveyard is like one of the least skillful decks in the game, right up there with Lava Clone. Generally because it's just something in the back, Giant Graveyard at the bridge, and rinse and repeat. And then obviously there's the Bowler Graveyard, which isn't
no wonder I bet up so many trophies. No wonder I got so many trophies with it. Okay, sorry. And the Bowler is what? Your favorite?
The Bowler is not my favorite. I think the Knight version is the best version in the meta right now. There's a lot of players in like the top 200, top 50 even using this deck right now. Generally because it's just so solid on defense. You can really, like, by playing it, you can get really good defensively at this game. As well as you learn a lot about building placements and tornado placements by playing this deck.
Yeah, let me show you the version of the deck that I'm using. It's basically old school Splash Yard, except for with the Tombstone in there. I forgot, was Tombstone the original? Was it originally in there? I forgot.
The original was actually Bomb Tower.
Bomb Tower, okay. Well, I'm using the Tombstone version. Let me, like, nuance, a niche question here, but do you like this version of old school Splash Yard, or do you like the version with Goblin Cage? There's a few different versions of it, you know?
This is by far my favorite version of Splash Yard. I actually pushed up to top 50 in the world yesterday and hit 8K for the first time.
Whoa. All right, so do you want to start with a live match from you, and then we'll get into a live match from me, then go over loss, kind of go from there? Does that work?
Sure, that sounds great.
All right, let's go ahead and search. We'll come back when we find a match again. All right, guys, here we go in a match over 8,000 trophies. What is your starting hand? What is your ideal starting hand, or do you not really care that much?
I mean, it's not really about ideal starting hand. It's more like hoping you don't get a terrible one. Like, the worst starting hand would be like Graveyard, Poison, and then like Barbarrel, Nado, and
all
like
the spells,
4 spells.
Okay.
But I got Barbarel in starting hand. I'm definitely gonna go Barbarel first play. It's one of my favorite starting plays.
Okay. What do you in this deck? If you really had to win a match, like $1 million on the line, right? You had to win the next match. Do you want to make the first play, or would you rather wait out?
Honestly, this deck is a double elixir deck. It is probably best to wait for your opponent to make something.
All right. So here we go. He goes with the big fella, Electro Giant in the back. You mirror it with a Knight. I found out, man, Knight is so important in this deck. I found myself, the more I play this deck, the more I realize that Knight is, you know, I guess aside from Graveyard, the most important card in a lot of ways. Baby D too.
Yeah, I mean, he is like the
You're
main
only-
tank.
yeah.
He's like really good on defense as well as he's really good on offense because he can tank for your graveyard.
Yeah.
But
So I
yeah,
imagine you're
in
not
certain
cycling. Yeah.
Yeah, like in certain matchups, you need to make sure you're not playing him too crazy, especially against like bridge spam stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in other matchups, like you have more important cards like your barbell versus bait,
Yep.
and just a lot of different stuff there. Where like cycling knights is not a terrible play.
So against an Electro Giant deck like this, especially one who's like fairly aggressive in single elixir, what are you just focused on defending and waiting kind of for your opportunity on a counter push? Is that kind of your strategy?
Yeah, generally with this deck, you're always just playing same lane as your opponent.
Yep.
And just waiting for that right opportunity.
So are you shifting your lanes always to go same lane, basically?
Yes, almost always, except for maybe Lava Loom is your
Okay.
only what's the word?
Yeah, only exception to the rule there, so you
Exception.
go opposite. Yeah, got you. All right, so here we go. 42 seconds remaining on the clock.
Yeah, so
And
I mean,
again,
I defend pretty good in single elixir. I just have to like get one more good defense now that's in double elixir, and then I'll be able to counter push.
Okay.
I have to make sure I'm watching out for lightning value. That's why I go with a tombstone real high here. With a barbell, take out that pesky bomber. Maybe another ice wizard here just to help out. Maybe
Ice
another
Wizard's
knight.
so strong too. Another card that I really didn't play a lot of, until this deck. So now in this situation here,
Definitely
okay,
go
you're
with the
going.
graveyard. So this is the example. You get a really good defense, you have counter pushing units, and then you go for the counter pushing graveyard.
okay,
The queen's really good versus my deck,
yeah.
but poison hopefully take her out.
All right, so here we go. He decides not to go with E Giant. He goes in the back. Setting up another defense and hopefully another counter push with a graveyard here.
Yeah, ideally. Going baby dragon high, gotta prevent as much lightning value as we can.
So he immediately goes to the lightning. Should be able to easily kill. Okay.
Probably gonna have the knight here as well. I'm gonna go with the
Ignore
high
the-
tombstone here
Okay.
because if the queen logs, like he's gonna get an absurd
That's
amount of
true.
damage.
That's true. As is, even with the tombstone, almost makes that tower equal. You go in with the bar barrel and the graveyard there. He goes with a cage. 10 seconds away from triple elixir time here.
Just going poison. Gotta get as much damage as I can, especially
Yeah.
triple elixir coming in here.
Yep.
So and triple elixir is like really where his deck can shine. Like you can like not only be regressive, but you can also defend almost anything.
Yeah. And one thing I realized about the deck. Well, I'll let you focus here. I'll tell you this after. So you jump into the damage lead. Now you just have to defend this monster push here.
Just going to poison, barbell, nado, getting the tombstone down. Just
You
to
do have
kill.
all the answers on the defensive end.
I just have to be careful because if he cycles back to their lightning, I'm gonna
Yep.
take an L.
So
I
do you go
never-
naked graveyard
I
here
go
or bar
for-
barrel?
Graveyard barbell is a really good answer,
Yep.
as well as a poison.
Poison. Yep.
So notice how I play my barbell second, so that I can really get a lot of tanking value.
Got you, got you, got you. And it looks like you are going to pull this off. Not enough time for him to get 2 lightnings on you, and you get a lot of RNG damage there. You cycle more graveyards, and boom!
That's a
GG's,
solid
man.
one. Let's go.
GG's, well played, man. And I want to touch on kind of a lesson that I learned, and I want to get your thoughts on it too, right? Is that
All right.
in the beginning, my mandate to myself was no graveyards a single elixir time, be very passive, just try to understand what they're playing, and just defend, and then you'll learn the deck better in the process. And that was working for me. However, I noticed that I was losing a lot, like either on ties, or I was just being way too like apprehensive about graveyarding, So, what is the right amount to graveyard? I guess I'll play a live match right now. I'll go with the deck that you just played too, but any thoughts on that? Like, how much is too passive when using graveyard? I guess it's just a sense for it, right?
So this is a really common like
I'm going in, by the way.
problem for like players, and the reason why is because you're probably not getting an optimal defense. Once you get that optimal defense, it allows you to have counter pushing troops. So
Yeah.
that's the thing that you have to be looking out for, because Once you get a really good defense, you're gonna have those counter pushing units, and then you can go with graveyards. But you might be like in a situation where like you're defending and you're defending well, but your troops are dying in the process. And what that can do is make it so it seems like you never have the opportunity to go with a graveyard.
Okay, so he goes in with a pretty aggressive mortar there. I mean, sorry, earthquake. So I'm just gonna tombstone here.
Yeah, tombstone's just a fine play. Play it one more tile down.
Okay.
Yep, and then you'll still be able to distract this Dark Prince as well, which is nice. That tombstone placement is like the best tombstone placement against mortar. I really like your idea to keep it alive here as well, because if he ever goes with a mortar, the skeletons just continually distract it. So
normally I would just like Baby D in the back here. Do you agree with that play?
I think Ice Wizard's a little bit better because it's slower.
Okay.
And then you can wait for his Musketeer to come on your side of the map potentially, but you're probably gonna have to go with a Baby Dragon
in the back. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna go like this over here. Yep. Wait till this goes off. Tombstone again over here.
Yep.
And then probably, oh man, that sucked. Then he got a lot. So would you have gone with a knight there, or would you have gone with a graveyard or something with a Baby D?
A graveyard with a Baby D is definitely not a bad play. You were definitely in like a situation where you had some just a decent elixir.
Yeah. I guess it's nice chip though.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate the mortar locked, and you probably had to play the knight at that point. But yeah, you do get some chip. And what's good for you here is you can play same lane as your opponent now.
And that sucked with the Ice Wizard, but... So do I go in Graveyard here?
Yeah, definitely. It's double elixir. Baby Dragon Graveyard is really good. You want to go Baby Dragon first? This is a mistake.
I had it out of my hand. Okay. No, maybe I didn't. My bad. Okay. So we protect the Ice Wizard.
That was a great tornado.
Thanks. I'd love to say I planned it exactly like that, but you know, got a little lucky there.
So the reason why you do Baby Dragon first is so it can tank for the graveyard, because that's when your graveyard really starts to do a lot of damage, is when you have something distracting the tower.
Okay, so I do a good graveyard here, or do I just keep cycling the back?
100%. You need to go with like Baby Dragon and then graveyard with your knight.
Okay, we're gonna NATO again here in a second. Nice. I'm gonna
so the reason why I do
Yeah.
Baby Dragon first in that situation.
And I didn't do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can wait for your graveyard, like your tower, to target the knight in that situation.
Okay, this time I swear I'm gonna do it right next time.
Yeah, so this is like how you can kind of use Splash Art as like a beatdown deck as well. You can like build up big pushes and then go with Graveyard as well. So this time it wasn't your fault because he's doing a good job of blocking at the river and not allowing you to get that tank down.
So these tombstones not really helping me anymore. I'm gonna poison that.
Yeah, always poison the musketeers if he gives you the option. And then
let's go with the knight over here.
Yep. So like defend this mortar with everything.
Yeah.
And then you can graveyard counter push and you should be able to win, honestly.
Okay, so I probably was a little bit. It's gonna delivery this. Yeah. So that could have lost me the match probably right there, right? Like not just
if you didn't go with that Ice Wizard and you get the graveyard down with more counter pushing units, then you're definitely better off. But you still got this.
We'll see.
Look, he got so much damage there.
True. All right, that will tank for this.
Just go knight.
Okay, I went again with the Ice Wiz, but I will knight. Now I have graveyard at the ready, but Baby D's almost down.
It's all good. You got the knight. He can tank. Okay. Get it down. Nice. Poison's not a bad play on the muskie.
Yeah, it took me forever, but whatever.
You're good.
Gonna have
to
do that.
Defend this, whatever you got. Yeah. Don't let that mortar lock no matter what.
Yep. Okay. Graveyard.
Yeah. Graveyard, and then bar barrel and muskie.
Bar barrel. Get that.
Okay, you have one time for one more graveyard, but you have to be really aggressive and place like lots of troops at the bridge.
Okay. Graveyard down. We have a bar barrel coming in. Hot. Got poison is down, and NATO should win us. And there we go. All right.
Let's go.
Woo! All right, so man, that was actually good having you in my ear there because I made a lot of mistakes and I made them repeatedly, but it's tough to readjust in my own defense, like in the moment, but it's good there. I learned a lot. So Baby dragging a lot for the tanks. I I feel like it's just a couple stupid mistakes, like letting that Dark Prince get to the tower, letting that motor lock on, you know, that can just be cleaned up through, you know, being better. Otherwise, I want to go ahead and jump, unless you have any thoughts there, I want to jump into one of my losses here. And want to just start with the one against, oh man, this Mega Knight Hog. I forgot how bad the replay is. It's probably pretty bad, Juicy, but you've pre-watched it. And I remember being very frustrated by this matchup. Just kind of walk through all my mistakes. Feel free to be super harsh on me. So I don't know what it was, but I mean, yeah, this was annoying.
Yeah, generally Mega Knight can be difficult. The main thing is you will need to be using your Knight in a specific tile to make it so all 3 of your towers are helping out versus the Mega Knight, and then defending against them is going to be a lot more easy. The other way you defend against them that's make it easy is like going with your Ice Wizard and your Baby Dragon, and then going with the Knight on the Mega Knight to make sure he's not jumping, you know, really close.
I want to pause right here, Juicy. Sorry. So I'm paused at 224. I want to pause right there because I want to kind of, walk through. Normally, I would never go with a graveyard that early, but he had the Inferno Dragon, and I thought that I could keep the Baby D alive by doing it. Let's rewind even further than that. Did I make a mistake even playing the Baby Dragon in the back like that? Would you have done that?
Baby Dragon back's not a bad play, especially with the hand that you had. I'm not sure, but generally, like, Baby Dragon in the back is a play that, like, maybe try to not do. Generally because it's expensive, as well as they're very quick, so it's going to go to your opponent's side fast, and you generally want to try and play on your side of the map as much as possible. So Barbell at the bridge is really good. Knight in the back is probably better. Ice Wizard in the back is probably my favorite, like, waiting play because he's slow and cheap and kind of non-committal as well. And then going with your Graveyard there, honestly, not a terrible play. It is risky in some situations. Sometimes I do that play even at the top of ladder, but sometimes if you get bad RNG on your Graveyard, the Inferno Dragon is just gonna lock on your Baby Dragon.
Yep.
And then he's gonna have this massive counter
really
push.
Toast. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's risky, not awful, but it's high risk, high reward potentially. All right,
Exactly.
I'll press play again. 3, 2, 1, go. And we'll continue watching here. So I get a lot of damage. I felt like the push ended up working out for me, but things go downhill from here.
So right here, I would just be playing my Knight real close to the Mega Knight, what you do. And then Ice Wizard, and then here, probably like Bar Barrel, you did. Now right here is your mistake. So the Mega Knight was actually going to jump onto the Bar Barrel in that situation, so you didn't even need the Tombstone.
So I over-defended again, just like last match when I Ice Wizard. So I think that's getting me in a little bit of trouble here, because I used 3 elixir where I didn't need to, basically. And I find it's hard sometimes to recognize mistakes like over-defending because they don't show up. It's hard to say, oh, because it looks like I defended well, but I over-defended, you know?
Exactly, and that is a big thing with this deck, especially because sometimes if you over-defend, then you won't have enough elixir to go with your Graveyard, and then you find yourself in that situation we were talking about where you just never feel like you can go on offense. So here's another example of, like, now that you know he's Mega Knight, I would maybe use like your Ice Wizard versus that mini P.E.K.K.A instead, just because, like, you have to be careful with your Mega Knights and cycle.
Okay, that's good.
Ends up not being that big of a deal though, because he doesn't use the Mega Knight in defense.
Yeah, that was a risky Graveyard. I didn't like it on rewatching it. You know, just a Graveyard with a half health Knight in single elixir time. You know.
Yeah, it can be risky, but he ends up using Poison on defense, which makes it so he doesn't have counter push.
So you would have went in with even though he has Hog in hand, should I have Graveyarded there instead of cycling the Baby D yet again? I'm sorry, Tombstone. I don't know what I said.
Tombstone, yeah. The thing about the Tombstone here is you know he has poison and gave it a lot of poison value. Something you can do is play your Tombstone like really high up and in the opposite lane. And that's going to make it so that he's not getting value off that Tombstone.
So he charges through, he gets a hit. You have to go with the Knight.
You have to go with the Knight. Kind of a sloppy defense.
Yeah, right?
But at this point, it's like, okay, you just have to reset and try and, like, prevent those mistakes from happening in the future. The Tombstone's a great play here.
So I think I could have cleaned up that sloppy defense just by placing it higher, right? And separating a little bit more.
Yep. So this is really important right now.
Then. Pause at 3 seconds left.
So really important, you go with the Bar Barrel, then the Graveyard. So this is kind of about, like, cycle as well as, like, just like Graveyard mechanics. So Graveyard, the first skeleton doesn't pop up until 2.2 seconds after you place the Graveyard, right?
Okay.
So what you want to always be doing is you want to make it so that your tank is tanking the tower as soon, like right before that first skeleton pops up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do here is you can actually play Graveyard first and then Bar Barrel directly after.
Okay.
And,
So
at the bridge.
an immediate graveyard, an immediate bar barrel.
Yeah, and what that's gonna do is like the Graveyard is gonna be in its like hibernation state or whatever. That first 2.2 seconds, no skeletons are gonna be spawning, and then as soon as the Bar Barrel pops up, since you played it second, the tower's gonna target while the first skeleton pops up as well, which is gonna allow the Bar Barrel to have more time to tank for that Graveyard. It also makes it like it's kind of unexpected for your opponent as well because they see the Graveyard come down
start
first.
reacting to that first. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of the tank, and then your Bar Barrel can get a lot of tank value as well.
True. It orchestrates the bar barrel orchestrates exactly what's going to happen. The opponent can set up for it.
Yep.
In terms of graveyard placement, while we're here, is this the ideal placement every single time? And when would I change this graveyard placement that you see on the screen right here?
That's a great question. Actually, like the more ideal placement nowadays is to play your Graveyard actually one more tile to the right, a little bit more centered around the tower. And what that does is it makes it so if they're ever playing like Valkyrie, especially with a lot of Valkyrie in this meta in the middle, it's going to make it so more skeletons spawn on the other side of the tower. As well as the Graveyard skeletons, as they used to spawn all around the outside of the Graveyard. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why we're changing up the placement generally.
Okay, that's really good feedback. All right, here we go. Play 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so I have the ill-advised. I wasted kind of a NATO there, maybe you could argue, on the Dark Goblin too.
So that is probably the reason why you lost this game, just because you don't have the Tornado for the Hog Ride in the situation. It makes defense really... Yeah, just a big struggle here.
Oh, yeah. And look at that same Dark Goblin that, you know, he ends up getting it. So that's where I lost, really.
Really, yeah.
Talk to me about the rules of NATO.
Yeah, so what you could do there instead is maybe poison Dark Goblin before we talk about Tornado. But generally, Tornado, you only want to be using it when either, one, like you use it only like when you have Ice Wizard Baby Dragon down and get like value with it that way. Number two, you could use it on defense versus like certain win conditions like Hog Rider, Balloon, stuff like that, where you need Tornado. And a lot of times you might want to be like, especially versus like Hog Rider and Balloon, you want to be thinking about saving your Tornado for defense, because even like you have Tombstone for the Hog Rider, he does have like Poison and Dark Goblin that can take that out really easily. So it's really good to save that on defense.
Okay.
And then like the third way you might be using like defensively Ice Wiz Baby Dragon, and then defensively, like by itself to pull win conditions. The third way you might want to be using it is you can actually kind of use a Tornado along with the Baby Dragon as a win condition. And you can get a lot of Baby Dragon splash on the tower with that as well.
Yeah. It feels like some graveyard pushes, I don't even know going in. Like sometimes I can take the tower, surprisingly, and sometimes they defend almost flawlessly. And a lot of it comes down to if I'm using effectively the Baby Dragon and the NATO, you know?
100%.
I want to do one more match if you don't mind, coaching me live again before we let you go.
Yeah.
One question before that is card level priorities for this deck. So obviously my deck is not maxed. I prioritized the Knight first and the Graveyard just because I had the magic items. But generally speaking, I think that, you know, and the Baby D. So you give me the right priority. What am I focusing on here? Ice Wizard, I really feel it being level 13, you know? Other than that, what would you say upgrade order should be with this deck?
A lot of people ask me this question. So I think Graveyard, number one, it's your win condition. Gotta upgrade it. If you don't upgrade it, it makes it so that other skeletons can take 2 shots from one of your skeletons.
Okay.
So, like, sometimes you get in situations with an underlevel Graveyard where literally, like, 1 elixir skeletons are countering you, and it's, like, terrible.
No.
And then next, I would say Poison, generally because that is, like, your second main damage dealer, as well as it's fantastic on defense, since it slows stuff down now.
Yep.
3, I think I'd go for... It's kind of a toughie. You could honestly choose a lot of your different troops, like Baby Dragon. I would probably go with Baby Dragon because it is along with the win condition with the Tornado.
Yeah.
Next, I would go Ice Wizard, kind of the same reasons. You could do Knight as well, and then Knight. And then I think Bar Barrel is okay, like to wait for later, generally because of the fact that like it's still gonna be taking out goblins. Versus Goblin Barrel and stuff.
And NATO doesn't matter that much compared to the rest. Tombstone, I imagine the same.
Yep.
Lowest priority. Okay. Yeah,
I would say NATO 100% lowest priority because it still has the same pull strength.
Yep. All right, I'm in a match, by the way, and but I appreciate that insight to the cards. So he comes in. Oh, well, NATO was okay. I actually lucked out there with a knight placement, but I didn't have NATO in hand there. Otherwise, I would have activated. So he starts out with Hog and Goblin Barrel. Do I just go in here, or
You could just go with a graveyard and nothing else, and save some elixir for your tornado in case he goes like Goblin Gang.
I could have gotten cute and tried to pull
Spell
this to opposite lane, but I decided to just chill.
That's a high level play that you can definitely do like once it's like over time.
Yeah,
kind of.
but not this early.
Yeah.
Okay, so here I'll just Bar Barrel.
Want to try and save the bar barrel for the Goblin Barrel since he's got.
That's true. Okay, now I have to do something here.
Yeah.
I do have NATO in hand.
If you did a NATO instead of that knight to activate king, it would be perfect, but
that's true.
It's fine, honestly. At this
do I graveyard again?
Oh, honestly, it doesn't seem like he has that many good graveyard counters, so I don't think it would be that bad of a play.
Yeah, he went with an awkward. Okay, he goes Fireball there. That's fine. So
I
here,
think he's pretty low on elixir here. He might lose his tower.
Okay, so he goes arrows, but that's not going to be. It will be enough, I guess. All right, so this guy's playing a weird giant skeleton Hog Rider Goblin Barrel clone, maybe deck. So I don't know what to do here, Juice. So Ice was in the back.
Yeah, Ice Wizard back's really solid. Generally, you just want to use try and like use Tornado versus Hog. Maybe activate King Tower in the future. Try and save your Bar Barrel for the Goblin Barrel, and if you do that, you should be able to easily win this game.
Okay. So I don't know what he's doing here exactly yet. I haven't seen a spell out of this guy either.
Yeah, he's got log and arrows. He doesn't have a big spell, which is perfect. Whenever you go against a deck that doesn't have a big spell in this deck, it just makes it so you can make these big pushes. And a lot of times people don't realize Splash Shard is not only a graveyard deck, you can also use it as a beatdown deck. Like a lot of the times in a really high level game against someone who's got really good graveyard counters but no big spell, like maybe Mega Knight Bait, for example. A lot of the times, I'm actually getting 2 Baby Dragons down on offense by going like Ice Wizard in the back, Baby Dragon in the back, Knight at the bridge. They're blocking my stuff at the bridge, and I cycle back to another Baby Dragon with another graveyard, and it just gets crazy because you can get like double Baby Dragon pushes with Tornado, and it's just insane.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to poison here.
Really good poison. Honestly, you're playing this game almost flawlessly. That graveyard placement was kind of suspect.
I was hoping you wouldn't mention it. When you're old like me, sometimes that placement, dude, these, you know.
Who knows? Maybe that's like the meta placement no one else uses.
Exactly. All right, so he tries to juke me. Didn't really work out for him there. I'm just gonna NATO. Okay, I wasted a NATO, but it looks like this one's pretty much in the bag. I don't want to speak too soon, but looking pretty good.
As long as you get like a poison down that witch, I don't think he's got a chance. I think it's pretty much over here.
There it is.
Look, I actually targeted the knight there as well.
Yeah, no big deal. All planned, Juicy.
All planned.
Well, that was a pretty easy matchup, but still nice to end the video on a win. You give me a lot to think about, which I'm super excited, man. I know a lot of my viewers too are on this like graveyard journey this year with me, so I'm sure a lot of us benefited from this video. Perfect time to go ahead and check out all of Juicy's information, guys. His Twitch stream, his coaching information, all that in the show notes below, along with his player stats and profile. Thanks to StatsRoyale.com. Big shout again to StatsRoyale and to Bren Chong, my YouTube partners. Juicy, any final thoughts before we let you go, man?
Yeah, so I just actually want to give you some homework.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Honestly, you're playing really well. You just have to, like, main mistakes I saw this today was like over defense. You got to watch out for that. Number 2, work on like using your tornadoes effectively along with your baby dragon, as well as defensively, like versus hog riders. You never want to take a hit versus a hog rider. And then lastly, I would say get better at like realizing your opponent's deck. Like a lot of the time with this deck, if you can just realize like what their win condition is, like Goblin Barrel, save Bar Barrel, Hog Rider, save Tornado, or even like Mega Knight, try and save Knight, for example. Like if you can try and realize your opponent's deck, what you need to save for defense, and then the other thing to work on kind of within that aspect is like understand what graveyard counters they have as well. Because if you can realize like, okay, Skeleton Army is their main graveyard counter, you always need to make sure you're going with poisons with your graveyard, for example. So that's just a couple things to think about.
No, that's great. I appreciate the homework. I feel like You're right. Doing a better job at just recognizing not only what is their win condition or what am I going to have problems with, but what do I need to always keep in hand and save to respond to. I think that's really good feedback. And obviously taking note of their counters to graveyard. So I'll work on those two things, and maybe we'll get you back here like in a few weeks or something like that.
Sounds perfect.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it, man. That's going to do it for the video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And I guess that's going to conclude things. The deck links, by the way, to both the decks, the Giant and the traditional Splash Yard, will be in the show notes below. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.